ridiculous. If you said Solstice. Here we go. Here's the tunes. Oh man, this is a good game. Like it's like 2 minutes and 50 seconds or something for the main title track. This makes no sense. And by the way, this is the same composer. It's Tim Follin. Tim Follin? Follin? I'm not sure how you say his name. The same composer as another game that he just completely just overachieved for. And that game, which is terrible on the NES, is this one. I'm cranking it for a second. Pictionary. This is crazy. Turning this sidechain off. Like, completely ridiculous. It's Pictionary. Yeah, insane. Love it. This is the least Pictionary song I can imagine. And again, the title screen, it's 1.5 minutes long. It's the title screen theme. Completely ridiculous. Transient Gamers, how's it going? Dawn Laundry. Thanks for multitasking, buddy. You nailed it, Solstice. You got it. Nichukabra, Feral, Josh, Adam, Bell, Toby. How's it going, buddy? Sandaben. Like, are you kidding me? What a track. Back to Solstice. Reverb in the void. Hey, Joe. Matt Fisher sound. Hey, Matt. E creates audio. Conrado. Good to see y'all. I had this game on NES. I had the cartridge. And it was tough. And I recall even as a kid being like, this title screen's crazy. The music is nuts. Yeah, I mean, Tim Follin did like a lot of stuff actually. Let me just see this. Tim Follin, composer. Or is there like a full breakdown of all the things that he worked on? Probably. Let's see here. All the works, where is it? Game credits. Wow, recently. 2015? No work for like, 9 years, okay. Lemmings for PlayStation Portable, and 2 and 3, okay. Ford Racing. Echo the Dolphin, really? Okay. Batman and Robin. Batman Forever. Ken Griffey Jr. presents Major League Baseball. Sweet. The Incredible Crash Dummies. Gauntlet 3. Okay, so NES though, check it out. Treasure Master is banging. Silver Surfer is another like... Isn't that like a pretty famously terrible game? Yeah. A lot of stuff. Ken Griffey's one of your favorites? There you go. These tunes are good, by the way. They're very good. Wheeler, gotcha. Hey, fellow sound nerds. Haven't caught a stream in a hot minute. I hope everyone's having a bug-free Thursday. Nope. But... yeah, that's the dream. Unattainably. Unattainably the dream. Let me just do this. I'm still buzzing and stuff. Enough of that. There we go. All right, so as I let this Solstice track keep playing, leaving it up. This is Real Talk. Welcome back. There's no guest host this week. Didn't quite make it in time. Had a couple of good leads, but didn't quite get there. So pushed to the future though. Coming up in a couple weeks, we have a good pal of mine, man from Riot, is the audio coordinator there, and who also helped us get a hold of. 1 second, let me find it. Yeah, there we go. Good track. Here it is. There you go. Zooming in. Oh, we won the game. Congrats. Yeah, so we have a panel of audio pros from Riot rolling in on the 1st of October. So some folks have already been sending their stuff in. We're probably going to be having like more than the typical 1 or 2 reels we have per week, and just try to like at GDC, like the Gang Audio Demo Derby, you just blast through, like 5 to 10 minutes for each one kind of thing, if need be. We'll see how many we get. But yeah, so we got Jeff Seamster, who was audio director on Legends of Runeterra. I've actually crossed paths with Jeff here and there at events in the past, so I'm stoked to. I didn't even realize he was at Riot actually, so I'm stoked that he's on the panel. And Marco Bustos, I'm not sure how to say his last name. I hate butchering last names. Senior sound on Runeterra, and then Curtis Churn, who's senior sound on Valorant. So killer. Yeah, both pretty, like well known to be good sounding games. Riot knows what they're doing, that's for sure. So, feel free to submit for that if you like. I think we have like 5 so far. And accounting for time to chill and chat before the stream, that gives like 12 minutes per person. Is that enough? I don't know. We'll see how long we take to get through the intro stuff. Yeah, we're gonna be blazing. We probably won't be doing the full like website breakdown and everything for that stream. It'll likely just be like, watch the reel, give some feedback. Watch the reel, give some feedback. Oh man, one more time. Hold up. Yes. There you go. Yeah, so thanks again. To this fine fellow, please go follow right now. Emanda Bomb. He's the best. It's literally his job to help set up things like this. So thanks, buddy. Looking forward to it. It's gonna be good. Oh, what a guy. Sometimes dreams do come true of Riot Games now. What a guy. Nicest dude. Yeah, this is Real Talk. We're taking a look at some game audio demo reel content from Luigi Platania. I'm not sure is in the chat or not. I think that Luigi is in Italy, if I recall from our brief conversation when they first submitted some things to us. And also Nikita Kalinin. Kalinin. That's my guess as far as how you pronounce that, being Russian. Russian. So Italian and Russian. Let's go. Close enough. Okay, well, fair enough. Glad I got at least somewhat close. Are we in Dubai at the moment? Okay. And you're a Nichukabra, of course you are. Nichukabra? I think that the LIN is the emphasis, right? Like being a Russian name. The second syllable? Is that how it works? Kalinin? I don't know. Anyway, okay, so yeah, we're looking at some demo reel content. We're going to be looking at it from a few different angles, primarily from presentation, material selection, content quality, and distinction. For presentation, we'll be looking at the site on the whole and what kind of direction these two folks are pushing us in as far as what things we should be looking at, and the information about the pieces they put up there and all these things. Just generally how you're presenting yourself to people on the internet who might not know you very well yet. And for presentation of the demo reel, we're looking at kind of the flow, the length, the transitions, the titling, the bookending, like all this stuff that's kind of sidelined to the actual sound of the thing itself. For material selection, we're looking at the stuff in the reel and the pieces and selected works in the reel and in the portfolio and what those pieces might suggest, again, to someone coming in blind about what your future ambitions might look like, what your past work history looks like, and what your current skill sets might look like. For content quality, we're saying, is your stuff good or not, and is there room for improvement? And if I think there is, I'll let you know what I think. We're a good area to focus next, or good area in which to focus next might be. And the last one, distinction. Are you standing out in some positive way? There's a whole lot of people who want the work, and you gotta stand out from the crowd somehow. So hopefully we can get there too. Let's zoom in a bit. Luigi, are you here, by the way? I think you were saying you may or may not be able to make it. You love the haircut? Yeah, I finally had to get that done. I'm headed for a family thing tomorrow, so I had to look respectable for once, try and pull this mess together. Yeah, Solstice is so damn good. It's time to say goodbye, though. Good job, Tim. Thank you. One of these for Tim. What a soundtrack. Completely unreasonable. It just makes no sense. Makes no sense. So you're in Dubai. What time is it in Dubai right now? Jeez. Time in Dubai. It is 3 a.m. Holy. Well, props to you for being awake right now. And I've seen your handle in the chat more than once too, so it seems like it's probably often late for you. So thanks for making it. Definitely makes this whole thing go a bit smoother. Okay. So first thing we're looking at on the whole here, we got home, skills, about me, contact. This goes where we already are, right? Classic, yes. Or does it? Yes, it does. Sound design for games. Beneath that, sound design reel. We got a video. Nice. Video up front. We got Unity, Fmod Studio, Wise, Ableton Live Pro, Pro Tools, native and third-party plugins. Small thing. Fmod is usually all capitalized, like very, very small detail. I usually go like all capital or all lowercase. Premiere Pro, CC, Photoshop. Cool. All right, great. So about me. Hi, I'm Nikita. I am a sound designer for games based in Dubai, originally from Almaty. I don't know how to say that. Kazakhstan. I earned my bachelor's degree in music technology from the Queensland Conservatorium, Griffith University in Brisbane, Australia. I've been all over, man. I got my first taste of the professional game industry at Ubisoft Abu Dhabi, where I was the sole sound designer and composer for NCIS Hidden Crimes, a AAA mobile title. Sweet. In my spare time, I work on sound redesigns and go out into the field or dunes to record samples for my sound library. Great. Contact me. Here it is. So pretty short and sweet as far as the content here. This is all just vertical, right? Same page. Yeah. So not much for like I guess there is no portfolio. It just is, here's the reel, minute long. So yeah, I guess we'll see how it goes. Typically, I mean, I'll be surprised if I don't want to see more, because seeing things like this, for instance, like Fmod and Wise. Okay, so first off, I'll mention it's a pretty common perspective from people I've spoken to in the industry that they don't really care about stuff like this, usually. Like if they do need to know, like let's say their studio only uses Pro Tools or only uses Reaper or something, and it's important that you have that familiarity because there might be like project sharing across individuals at the studio or something, then they will for sure ask you things. But in general, I think most people don't care what you use. Like if your stuff sounds awesome, then great. That's good enough, you know. For some time, Cole actually used, Cole at PowerUp used Logic Pro X, whatever it is. For a long time, we were like, yeah, stop, man. He's like, okay, my bad. Now he's on Reaper. But the fact is, like, his stuff sounded great. So it's not super, super important usually. They might ask you, like, in an interview kind of thing. But yeah, it's not super important. And stuff like this, like native and third party, I mean, it's like assumable. So this is a very, very, like, nitpicky thing. This is by no means like an egregiously long list or something. We've seen it where people like list off every plugin they use, and it's like, okay, we don't need to know that you use like Massive and Absinthe and Reactor. Like, it's not super important. So this is like, I mean, we assume you use plugins. You know, it's kind of assumable. But this is great. Like saying you use Unity and Fmod and Wise, that absolutely is like super relevant. So it's really up to you if you want to keep it including that kind of stuff. But just thought I'd mention that as a note. Okay, I guess we'll watch the reel. That's all there is. So let's have a look. Make sure I'm all turned up. Make sure I'm good over here. Turn my side chain off. And let's go. 3, 2, 1, and... What was that at the end there? Let's see here. Oh, I see. I looked away for a brief second to see the chat, and I missed the glitch. And I was like, what was that sound? Just didn't see anything change at all. Yeah. Jeff says, makes me want to play God of War again. Well, there you go. Billy Palmer. How are you, pal? Good to see you. Natasha. Good to see you as well. 7 lands. Everyone rolling up for the claps. Thanks a lot. Yeah, great work. Super cool. Let's have another look from the angle of presentation, shall we? First off, it's a minute long, so someone's been watching Real Talk. Awesome. I love this. We saw this like last week too, didn't we? Or the week before that? Oh, who was that did the same thing? It was like I can't recall now, but similar kind of like, it was 2 weeks ago. So did you see that and take that the reels lead? It's cool though. Yeah, I like the showing through. It's very nice. I always feel like it can't hurt to have your contact info there in some respect. It is at the end, so that's good. Yeah, I'm just a big fan of making it as easy as possible to get in touch. This is not a huge issue though. Okay, press play. Quantum Break, Remedy Games, sound redesign, tasteful, very nice. Easy enough transition, super cool. Superverse Industries, sound redesign again. Yeah, when you mentioned, Nikita, that you use Premiere, I kind of assumed that your video would be, like, decent. That's kind of my hope, at least. Yeah, right, Josh? It's cool. Yeah, the slight fade here, see that compared to, like... Compared to there, for instance, like this is fully opaque, right? And then it goes down opacity and you can see through the letters a bit. It's nice. I'm not sure you've seen that before. It's cool. And the end. Thanks for watching. Bzzt. Listening. Cute. Okay, great. So that's that. And I missed, you said something about more content like coming soon, right? Let's see this. You said, yeah, the integration reels are in the making. Great. And thank Reddit for that. Oh, did you find Real Talk through Reddit? Really? That's unusual. I've posted Real Talk on the game audio subreddit before, and then it gets removed for self-promotion. It's just so, the game audio subreddit is just such a it's just such a dumpster fire sometimes. But yeah, unfortunate. Oh well. Oh well. Like for example, I wanted to go and post like we're doing the whole riot thing, right? And then yeah, I just didn't want to. I was like, oh wait, it'll be removed because they'll say we're being self-promoting. So oh well. Oh, a few people find us through Reddit. Awesome. Derek does sound as well. Nice. And Alex agrees. Yes, it's pretty rough. It's a rough subreddit. It's too bad. Okay, so I was going to say, as I'm sure you're well aware, Nikita, I just wish there was more content to look at now, because the thing is, this is not a bad reel. You know, it's it's like a strong reel. So then comes the time where I say, wow, great. Well, now, okay, well, let's back up a second, okay? So if we assume I arrive on your page, I've never heard of you before, you applied for a job or something, and I just, I get here, you can assume I'm just gonna press play full screen. And if this impresses me enough to want to care more, then I'll probably scroll down and be like, oh, what else does Nikita have? And then you only have this, right? So kind of the big problem right now is that there's nothing else to look at. So, and of that, the biggest one probably being you claim this, but you don't demonstrate that. So it sounds like you know that, you're doing the integration reels. I think that's the biggest thing missing from this right now. But yeah, let's just go through this a bit. This is definitely like, guns are not my forte at all, so I can't be too helpful with that. But if any gun experts in the chat, then go for it. Please weigh in. E-Create, so the beginning was cool but slow, and I felt the same with the ending. I felt like a solid 40 seconds. Yeah, I think that the beginning was kind of samey. It was like a lot of gunfire. I did like the kind of runaround sequence, but you could probably afford to have a fourth thing in this reel, I suspect. Let's go one more time. I'm gonna sidechain this time. Yeah, like all that. This first 10 seconds is basically the same, Excuse me. We got like, let's press play again. We got gunfire, low pass because of title stuff. Let's turn it down a bit. So the first 10 seconds, you're kind of showing us the same thing for the first 10 seconds. And it's real important to consider those first 10 seconds as pretty sacred. At GDC years ago, this fellow, Scott Gershin, I think it was, did a talk. What was it? It was something like how not to get hired, I think was the talk, or something like that. And one thing he brought up is that your goal as someone applying for a job should be to make, if I'm the one hiring, for instance, I'll play the role of the recruiter or the audio director or whatever. Your job or your goal is to make me want to hear more in the first 10 seconds. So your first 10 seconds is not like bad, but it's not really impressive, And there's some pretty strong work elsewhere. And even during this clip, it's a little more compelling. It's a little bit more interesting. But the first 10 seconds is like a lot of gun, So like Josh is saying, I think we're getting a lot of muzzle sound from the guns, which sounds great, but we're missing a lot of tail and visceral environmental impacts. It sounds cool for a few seconds, but then after a few more, I noticed the absence of those elements. Yeah. And being that the entire focus is the gunfire for a while, that's all you're showing, right? So you're kind of you're forcing us to have the magnifying glass out and like really listen to that gunfire specifically, because that's all there is. Yeah, it's there's some really cool ideas here, like the kind of the spatial sound, you know, when you're in the other state and running around. Like, that's interesting, sounds really cool. But I'm with Josh, like I think we could hear a lot more of what's going on like in this scene as the effect. Was it you, Josh? I feel like you're always weighing in, or maybe it was Alex. I think both of you are pretty similar on the same page for this stuff, but I think there was like a Witcher 3 redesign some time ago, and you were saying, or Alex, one of you was saying that you love hearing like the effect of things happening, of the action, if the effect the action has on the environment. So if a monster gets like slammed into a barn wall, you hear like the barn shaking, and you hear like the tools in the wall rattling and stuff. You hear all these things as a result of that. And with this, we don't hear a whole lot of that. We hear a little bit. It was Fran and you. Yeah, cheers. That's what it was. Thank you. Yeah, so like with all this stuff here, we hear it a bit. You know, like we're hearing like this impact happened, but it feels a little bit, Nikita, like you've designed the things that moved, if that makes sense. Like this pallet, this wooden pallet breaks, and this wooden box over here breaks. Let's watch again. You know, so like this moved and this moved. And yes, absolutely, like watching what changes in the scene is a really important part of designing it, because you want to make sure that what you see is what you get, at least to start with, right? But are we to believe that every other bullet just like went over, you know? Like they for sure hit the front of this concrete thing, even though we might not be seeing it specifically. There's a lot of room to kind of further inform what's happening in the story, if that makes sense. Alex Barnhart rolling in. Alex, if you don't know Nikita, Alex is working at Respawn on the Star Wars team, so you can listen to what he has to say. He was also the very first person on Real Talk ever. I've done a good bit of guns, so I guess I'll chime in total agreement with Josh here. So everything you just said is great. Overall, the guns are pretty poppy to me. I want to feel more of the low end and mech elements, even on the enemy guns as well. Guns are basically just flavorful broadband noise, so it's missing all the low end and high end. Also, seems like the bullet whiz-bys are generally cutting in and out and don't really feel synced to me. Matt Martinson rolls in, says, very dry sounding and the guns sound rather flat and uninteresting to me. Yes, agreed. Again, it's the kind of thing that you could probably get away with if it was not the focus of the shot. Like it was this kind of sound in the distance, it wouldn't be as egregious. But because it's like it is all the action right now, we need a little more love for the guns for sure. Yeah, I agree with the ricochets thing. Even the panning on them is kind of just anywhere. It's not really, it doesn't feel like it's actually matched to what's happening. Let's carry on though. Is there breathing there? Is what I'm hearing? It's kind of cool. All right. So in this here, I feel like I don't know what Quantum Break sounds like actually, like the original. I'm not sure. I don't super know this game. So this is like I don't hate what you have. I think what you have could stay for sure, but I think it needs a bit more detail yet. Because it's a little bit like if there was no additional kind of effect on this scene and we were just running, you know, without enemies and stuff, just running, just the sound of footsteps and stuff. This is pretty dry. Like it's only feet. There's not a whole lot of like the body. And then on top of that, it feels like there's probably room to kind of affect what we're hearing with the feet in this state. I mean, again, I'm not sure what the original game sounds like. It might be they went super dry on it, but that would surprise me. I think that oftentimes you're helping to support this idea of like, well, in terms of the elements of a mix, I would call this dimension, like the idea, the sense of space. And this sense of space, as we were saying previously, you have the ambience of the street and stuff here, some sirens and stuff that helps sell the space totally. But this state here is kind of a state, it's like a space of its own. It's like a dream space. Like it's totally stylized, and it's up to you what it sounds like. And you've done this kind of cool washy pad thing in the background. But it might be, you may have more room to kind of further detail what sounds are happening within this space, and like how does that actually color the sounds too? Because the idea of like running dry, like just running through a street with no enemies, versus running in this state, like you'd think they'd sound a bit different, you know? And again, just with the Foley and stuff, it's very like feet only. Like let's do a classic, close our eyes and listen to this Foley movement. Let's go, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I'm pretty secure in saying there's no Foley there. Like it's just straight up feet only, and it's not quite going to cut it as far as a project of this caliber. Like you'd need a little more love given to what like the sound of the character is, like the swishing of the clothing and stuff. You know, there's a little more love there could be great. Seven Land sounds like the breathing has effects, but not the footsteps. Yes, totally. And Nikita says, yeah, absolutely. I will definitely be adding a lot of details after this. Great. So Matt says, can I film some slap back off those walls for the gunshots? Totally. And Matt rolls in, says, personal taste, I kind of want it to be more washed out and not be able to pick out specific parts of the power loop. Oh, like more washed on like the design of the pad and stuff? Yeah, sure. It's a little. It's pretty contoured. Like you're like the small kind of transients here and there. Yeah. So yeah, go apply. What is that? Reverb Valhalla Supermassive. Just put it through that, and you'll be good to go on any preset, and you're good to go. Okay. So then the jump and whoosh and hit. Yeah, shimmer's good too. This jump here, it's kind of the same note as the footsteps with no Foley. There's like a jump with like a kind of, I think, like a little bit of a push off, but there's totally more room there to be more stylized, especially because of how stylized the shot is. Like we can pull in kind of cinematic, like layers on top of that don't directly mapped like what the sound of the character might be with the movement and stuff. You can just put like a whoosh, super wide, and it'll be fine and great because this whole moment is all about like being in a kind of supernatural state, right? So we hear this, and this punch is really, for being again in like a supernatural state, for launching into the air and coming down. This is a pretty like general face punch kind of impact that it's not really like interesting. It's a fine face punch for a punch in the middle of like a John Wick fight, you know? Sure, why not? But for this instance, I wouldn't hear that punch on its own and be like, oh man, that was like a world-ending punch, you know? And it still goes into like the slow-mo and stuff in this moment. So it seems like, again, I don't even know how Quantum Break works. Is it like a timed thing? We're back into it there. So could you have punched him like way earlier on and stay slow-mo? It seems like that's how it's like it's still slow-mo here. So yeah, all the more reason to like put like on the far, just put in the stereo, you know, like far left and right, just make something huge to you know, make it happen. And like the movement here, again, I guess you can get away with like no Foley on his character because it's like a slow-mo version of the character and stuff, but completely silent feels maybe, yeah, perhaps like a misstep to me. And I think if your impact was huge, then you might be able to get away with that, like this being pretty dry and stuff afterwards, because the tail of the impact would kind of fill out this space. But because it's like, and it's done, we just see this guy floating to the ground, like just silently, right? Yeah. All right. So, and the gun, is this the same gun as the enemies have? Did he like pick up his gun? Is that what happened? He's holding a gun. It looks different. This gun is long. This gun is not as long. Different gun. Yeah, different gun. As far as I can tell, it sure looks different. I might be wrong, but I think it's like an M5 or something that these guys are holding. I don't know guns. Stop trying to sound like you know guns, Kevin. Let's look at this gun. This is different, right? That's for sure. It's like an Uzi or something. This is for sure different. So the point being, this gun, closing our eyes, sounds really similar to this gun. You know? Super similar. There's a little more like a on this one. Yeah, but for sure, not even for just, I mean, there's a variety of reasons that you should endeavor to make guns sound different. A big one is to be able to differentiate between like different kinds of enemies firing and such, and hearing like your bullets versus their bullets, you sounding like not just different but maybe like more powerful. There's like a variety of reasons, and even just the mix sounding more interesting because you have like thing A happening and thing B happening, as opposed to thing A and thing A again, because that's not the story being told, right? It's like it's gun A and gun B. It's not gun A and then the same gun again. Okay, so, oh yeah, player gun should have way more low end than enemies probably, says Alex. That's probably a good call. Yeah, there's more. I mean, the gun is like right in our face, right? So we should be hearing more detail on it, like more bass and more mechanical whatnot and so forth. Okay, so, and just a little more on this guy. There's like a pop there. Is that technical or is that something happening? Right there. Right there. What is that? Is that just me? Am I crazy? I don't think I am. Let's see here. I might be crazy. It's possible. It's entirely possible. It's happened before. Give me a hot second here. We'll know if I'm crazy in a second. We'll know. We'll know. Just wait. Just wait a hot second. We're calling this file Am I Crazy? We're going to find out. So this is fine here, I guess, right? Sure. You hear that file move? There it is. Okay, almost there. So here and right here, I believe. Yeah, so let's open this in Isotope. Let's go. That's what I heard, this one. That sure sounds like a region not being faded, but I can't be sure for sure. It might be like this an ugly pop in like the shells bouncing. I don't know. But yeah, very, very nitpicky thing. Very nitpicky. I heard it the first time through though. Like the first time listening to it, I was like, sounds like something wasn't faded. Yeah, something else here too. So again, I don't really know entirely how Quantum Break works, but there's like a back to normal speed here. And happens again. So is it the same thing happening both times? Or is this different? Like this is like a spatial thing, or does it happen like right on you here? I wish I knew the game better. This seems like an everywhere thing, whereas this seems different. Sorry, this part. Like the localized thing feels kind of samey with the everything. You know, like this happening and come back to speed. That sound and the sound of this coming back. Yeah, they're just very similar, and I think the is kind of. I think it could be a little more interesting yet. Like just flex a bit farther, as far as what that sounds like. Matt says sounds like a snap to me, not a shell. Even as a shell could probably be declicked. Yeah, like it's definitely like an overtime kind of just general ear thing. I pull gross stuff out of source content all the time, where I'm like, I just don't like that, especially in terms of, well, if it ever pulls my ear out of what I'm supposed to be hearing, then I'll just get rid of it, and that's a good example of one. Okay, so this splode, I keep checking if I have like an EQ on. I don't think I do. I don't have an EQ on. I think just in general, do you have a subwoofer, Nikita? I'm guessing you probably don't. That's my guess. Just based on the bass content in this piece, or I guess rather the lack thereof. Yeah, no sub. That's my guess. So the thing is, I don't have a sub on these headphones either. I have a sub down here, but not in my headphones, of course. But there's certainly room to fill out some bass yet. Like this thing blowing up could be for sure a lot bassier. Again, just help. You have a great spectrum of frequency to help tell your story, like tell the story of what's happening in the, from moment to moment. And that, like introducing some bass at a certain moment can go a long way, like that kind of thing, to introduce weight and power and danger and all these things, or threat. And there just isn't really any bass here, right? I was careful with the bass for that reason. Oh, because you have no sub, sure. It's not an easy problem to solve if you don't have a speaker, like a subwoofer to show you those frequencies, right? It's not the easiest thing. But, I mean, you can always just do the RX thing, right? That's an option. Certainly. Just have a look at what's down there and be like, it's looking crazy. Maybe I'll pull it back a bit. Just use some spectrum, like a spectral analyzer, and just look at that. If you can't get a sub, that's a good backup plan. And even if you do have a sub, it's a decent backup plan to look at your stuff in RX afterwards anyways, because you might see stuff that's like, I shouldn't do open recent. You might see something you shouldn't see. Let's do this. So you might see things like let's say that maybe there's something way up here that is just like crazy loud, And there it is. And like, who heard that? Whose ears are good enough? That's where is that at? It's like 17K-ish. So if you didn't hear that, don't feel shame. It's way up there. And we are all adults for the most part, and our ears have gone through varying levels of taking the beating over the years. The point being, though, like a 12-year-old will probably hear that very easily. Just like the very high stuff, right? So you might have like a bad recording or something in the source content that you've recorded, and having a look at your stuff you bounced out can help you, see that stuff and not be mean to people with better ears than you. Just a little small thing. Let's get back to it. Okay. So I love this. I think it sounds great. The shots are nice. They're really tasteful. And for something like this where you're firing very, very often, I think the gunfire is working. Like it feels pretty, like powerful enough. But similar to the bullets, we're not really hearing any of this stuff. Like its effects on the environment. And I wish I was, because there's this really cool like VFX effect with like the kind of the fire, the sparks flying off of the impact. But there's none of that, and it's not like it's we're in space and there's no sound reason or something similar. It's just, So Matt says no ambience, JK, it's in space. But the thing is, we hear some things, right? So with the space thing, if this is space, it seems like it's space. It's underwater. I think it's space. With the space thing, you kind of need to make a call. Like, are you going to hear it or not? And for a game where the entire thing happens in space or whole scenes, then it can become a pretty bold move to just leave things silent. And I don't think that you made a choice actively to leave things silent because it's space. That's my guess. This, like the explosion of the enemy, for instance. Oh, there's pops there too. Are you hearing that? I'm pretty sure. Let's do this again. I'm pretty sure. I may be wrong, but let's just do this here really quick. Be very, very fast. PC. Let's go this. Boom. Thank you. And isotope again. I love getting around an isotope. Let's go. Is there pops here? Hello? Yeah, you see that there? Look at this. So right here is a pop that's happening on every single jet fire. It's a little more apparent in the right side, looks like, for some reason. Yeah, so I'm not sure. I mean, that looks like it's a linear redesign. I'm assuming it is, right? You didn't have access to like implement that. So yeah, just be really, really, really careful of that stuff. It's especially in base content, and this stuff pops in, or it like becomes apparent really easily. It looks like, yeah, there's like a little jump. See that? So something happened right there. So that's the kind of thing that for something like a game like that, where you're hearing that as often as you are, it's really, really important to be careful of fading your stuff and just being careful of things like that. Let's see. So Josh says, I've had $1 for every time someone asked us why there are sounds in space. Yeah, so working on Star Citizen, of course. I say, go for it with space ambience in this project. Me too. I mean, there's an argument about hearing things in the ship because things in the ship create vibrations, so, you know, noise, but noise? As in nice or noise? You could be creative and maybe space has no sound, but your ship's comm systems could be picking something up. Yeah, but a game like this, I don't think that's the answer. I would argue that it's pretty important to be informing the player of like what's around in the environment, so hearing things coming. It's a little more arcadey than that, right? Like we're not making Mass Effect or something. Okay, so just critique-wise though, press and play. The gun could have like, I mean, it's just, I'm not sure if it's an absence of the gun's tail or just an absence of the effect of the projectiles on the environment, but it just feels really empty because of, you know, nothing coming after the gunshots. And especially, let's see this. Okay, so we hear the enemy getting hit. That's great. So having like a dull hit to make sure this stands out would be awesome. Maybe having some kind of like, oh, it's hurting because it has the sparks flying off. Right, maybe room for that too. Very possible. The explodes are pretty cool. I like what's there. You probably have a little more room to play with the explosion to make it real satisfying. It feels a little bit like we're not using much of, in this case, like the highs. And again, maybe it's space and you made that call. It's very possible. But like if I press play here, there's not much happening in the higher register. It's like we got, here we go. Let's pull this in. Yeah, so we got like, it's really flat, see? In terms of am I linear? I'm on Mel, right? Yeah, I'm on Mel. So this is pretty flat in terms of what we're looking at. And by that I mean that we have some brightness down here. Here's some sub stuff you didn't know was there. There it is. But in general, like all this stuff here, there's not a lot of range in terms of where the frequency focus is and stuff. It's mostly around here, you know? We have kind of like a little bit gone here for these gunshots, And then for these hits, there's a bit of this going on up there, a bit of that too, right? But it's really like you can look at it, like it looks very similar across the board. So being careful to choose, so you don't know what you're looking at. So divinorium, this is a spectrogram, okay? And the spectrogram shows you frequency content over time. You've probably seen this before, right? Like waves and such. This is simply time is this way, and amplitude is like this, right? Like the kind of vertical. So the spectrogram shows you not only time and amplitude, it shows you frequency also. So rather than it being, x-axis is still time, of course, but now rather than y-axis being amplitude, it's instead the frequency. So we have 20K, that's like treble stuff, right? Up top, and then down below, definitely on 20K up, we got the low stuff. So we're able to see, like right here, I can tell there's a big bass thing happening, right? So we can go, oh, what's that? And that's super sub bass. It's way down there. So looking at this can be really helpful to kind of see what our mix looks like and how it kind of translates to what it sounds like, right? So when you have this kind of, I call it flat because the stuff we're seeing here, like all the content, the gunfire, the impacts and so forth, they're all pretty similar in terms of the frequencies that make it up. Like if I were to, I'll just do this into like a 3 dB boost or something. And for like these impacts, if I just went like this and added a little more to the top, like up here, and then same thing here, like I'm just gonna freestyle it, just add some in. It's like a little more highs on these explosions or whatever. Is that an explosion? I'm not even sure. Or here too, like same thing. Let's like, oh, boom, let's make this a little more shiny, you know? Let's listen again. Like immediately this thing stands out so hard and it's not offensive, you know? And I just did some nonsense like in the recorded version of it. If you think from an angle of, okay, I gotta make an explosion. How does this explosion, like what's the context of this explosion? Is it really important the player hears this for reasons of like not just sounding cool, but further standing out from the mix in general, like making sure that it's heard, or it's an important thing to hear. Let's say there's like 4 enemies and you're like focusing all over the screen. You fire some rocket, like hopefully you kill that guy, and you turn your attention over here now, and you hear explode. It's it feels awesome because the player's a badass, but also it'll stand out from the chaos happening otherwise, right? And standing out is like, or one way you can stand out is to have just a different frequency poking through the mix, because it's going to pop through in a new way that the ear's going to pick up on. And furthermore, high frequency stuff especially stands out because the human ear just simply transduces those frequencies easier, like more efficiently than lower frequencies. So that's why like ambulance sirens are high pitched rather than being like a low hum. It's because humans hear that more easily. So having like this up here, like a psh, when you get killed or when you kill an enemy, like you really hear that. That's probably too much at that point, but the point stands. Like having some high stuff in there will help make sure that it's heard. So anyways, moving on. I'm going to move on to Luigi pretty soon here too, but we'll just wrap up with God of War stuff. Let's listen one more time. I'm going to catch up on chat too. Sorry, I'm not reading stuff. I was talking about RX. Hey, Justin, good to see you, pal. No, you're the best. Working on Homeworld 3. Oh, cool. Good on you. Okay, Nikita says, yeah, that's a very good point. It helps the player understand that something meaningful happened. Totally. Just helps it stand out because we can't guarantee they're going to see everything that'll happen. In this kind of scene you've shown, it's a little more obvious because it's pretty controlled as far as what the player's encountering. But even then, it's still worth having like just a different frequency focus on the explosions, like either low or high or both. So it just feels more exciting and more energetic and more active in the mix. Yeah, this is kind of similar. It's a lot of it suffers from the same stuff the first clip suffers from, like the walking being very footstep focused. With this, look at this enemy here. Like when they approach the player, right? We have like they kind of form up or something. Is that what happens? So this forms up. He's like, roar. And we hear, and that's it. Again, close your eyes. I encourage you, Nikita, to close your eyes all the time during your design. Everyone close your eyes right now. 3, 2, 1, and. Like, that's it. Only footsteps, nothing else. There's no, like, I guess there's some armor there, kind of. But there's for sure room to do things like, I'm going to get you, like another kind of growl on the character, or just, you know, the sound of the character moving. It's kind of made of all these, like, really, you know, contoured, disparate parts, like kind of, what is it, wooden stuff? Like, for sure, having some more... Or is it all fleshy? I haven't played God of War. I really should. So, like, whatever the character's made of, we can hear that, right? But we hear just nothing, instead we only hear footsteps. So, unfortunate. For the hits, I think what you have there is really cool, but having a little more love into the fact these are slices could be nice, too. Because right now they feel kind of like blunt, like splashes almost. It's a nice impact. Like, again, closing your eyes. If we listen to it from here-ish, close your eyes again. Like, if I said, hey, so if you had not seen this scene, and I said, what weapon do you think the player has? What do you think your answer would be? You know? And it's a... I'll get on you to try and sell that as far as it being like, it's an axe, right? Further, again, just still Foley stuff. You have way more room to get the nuance on the character yet. We have all this, like, the kind of the post-swing and the pre-swing. We have a lot of room to put in more detail there for Foley. Like, look at that, all that right there. So much, like and that's it. It's like a little foot scuff. That's kind of it. There's all this backswing. Like, look what's happening, like, behind the character. Like, everything from, like, this plane to that way. You know, look at all this content, all this action. So right now it feels kind of like generalized whoosh and impacts, but you can get a lot more detail to be like specifically God of War. Alex Barnhart says, I think the biggest thing I've seen in these three designs is a lack of tail and sounds. Yeah, the axe there, when it gets to the full power, just sort of ends. There's no resolution on the sound. Same way the guns don't have much tail, explosions, etc. The original scene in God of War has a really nice sparkly magical tail of the ice crackling and stuff that I missed in this clip. Nice. And Matt mentions it could use some more sharpness to the cuts. Doesn't feel like cutting a strike. Yeah, absolutely. Feels very baseball bat. Whoever said that, I missed that. Jay Sabbins, I agree. Feels very baseball bat-y. Here we go. Ambience-wise, Matt says, yeah, there's like some... it's some wind. It's very basic, just like background air. And that's it. Yeah, there's probably room to fill out the environment a little more too. Like hearing this guy arrive in. Again, like the story being told is like, oh, you thought it was one enemy. Nope, here comes another one, right? So having that supported in story, there's kind of like a kind of, but I can't quite tell if that's this character or not. Yeah, just yeah, I think that's plenty of content to work on for the time being. I went real hard on content for this, for yours, Nikita, because there just isn't more to look at. So we dug in real deep on nuance and stuff. So hopefully that's okay, and you have some stuff to work on there. I'd be thrilled to see your integration stuff. That'd be awesome if you have another reel to throw away at some point, either just to to look at privately or to be on Real Talk again. That'd be great too. So for the time being, standing out. I don't think you're quite standing out yet, but I think you've got like a really good foundation built, and this is certainly a lot better than many redesigns we see, and I think you have a pretty clear like trajectory of what you can work on next. So yeah, I mean, all power to you. I think it'll be really good if you have a little more content to look at, and maybe a little more indication of what you can do in Fmod and whys and so forth. That'd be awesome to see too. So I look forward to seeing your name again Thanks, pal. Okay. Yeah, and thank you everyone in the chat for helping me out too. I really appreciate all the comments, Alex and Matt and others. It's super cool to see you guys. Let's move on to Luigi Platania from Italy. I think, isn't that right? There's no bio, so we'll never know. Let's say Sicily. I was right. Okay, so Luigi might not be awake right now. What time is it in Italy? Time in Italy. It's 2 a.m., so one time zone over from Dubai. There you go. Well, that's totally fine. I have no, I can't possibly fault someone for not watching this stream at 2 in the morning on a Thursday, so no sweat. Okay, so let's go. I guess I was going to go about and read the bio. There is no bio, so that's unfortunate. It's the kind of thing I only miss when there isn't one, you know? But, okay, we got, so front page is, this isn't a link. Portfolio? Is portfolio the front page? Okay, portfolio is the front page. Oh, all right. Got it. I hadn't realized that. I was thinking this was like, this was a link to your front page and portfolio was like more information on more things, but I guess not. Let's just glance across everything though. We have a Gmail address at the very top. I'm not sure I've seen that before, but I guess that's a thing. Leading with the email address. Bold move. Not the end of the world. It's fine. But you could probably afford to at least like swap these two or something if you insist on having email first. Just realizing that if someone arrives here, the first thing they're going to do is not email you. They're going to look at your stuff first, you know? And then if they want to go, oh, Luigi's sweet, and I want to get in touch, then they will probably go to the About page and email you here, which is, it's very clear to see, very easy. So, yeah. Oh, also IMDb. Let's go. Goodbye, Mary. Dragonflies only live for 24 hours. The Last Jeff. Oh, no. Okay, so various film things, looks like. Just like short film. Cool. Great. So over to projects now. This is interesting. So we have a drop down, kind of. It's kind of broken though. Like it works sometimes, but not all the time. Someone give Luigi a call. Tell him to get up. You with the number there? We're DDoSing him. Not DDoSing. Doxing. Sorry, doxing him. Okay, so this is these things, right? Why is UE4? Why is Soundcaster? Why is Unity Occlusion? Procedural impact sounds. Okay. This is probably not needed if you have this few things to look at. And it's kind of broken too. Like it's not really working all the time. So I would just kill the drop down. Just feels extra. Where do these go though? Like another page? Okay. It goes to a video and like a breakdown and stuff. That's fun. Cool. All right. This is a great example of something I'd love you to walk me through rather than having to read through it. And maybe that's what this does. It's only 50 seconds long, so probably not. I'd maybe prefer that in this case. I think we'll have time, so maybe we can come back and have a look at this. Procedural impact sounds, you say, says Alex. Getting amped, dude. Let's go to the portfolio again. So it's front page is, oh, these are here anyways. We have, this is the same things. Why is UE4 demo? Why is Soundcaster? Occlusion, procedural impact. This is all the same thing. So projects is just more of the front page. Oh, I guess it's not more because you have like, yeah, just click here for more info. These links are the same thing as going like here and clicking there, for instance. Okay, all right. Fair enough. Yeah, I don't hate this. I guess we'll see when we watch it though. We'll see what happens. So let's go full screen. This is 1 minute and 15 seconds long. Not too bad. I'll make sure I'm cranked up on the volume. Back up again. Reverb in the Void says, tiny website thing. Having a formal name in font at the top is legible. Sorry, having a formal name in font at the top is legible, but a basic sans serif feels super flat. I mean, in general, no one's jumped up and down for the design of this site. Like it's very, very, very basic. Yeah, it's extremely basic, Luigi. So it's the kind of thing that won't like hurt you necessarily, but well, think of it this way: if you are as good as you are, you have some skill level. We'll put it here, and someone else has a skill level that's also right here, but their website is super awesome. Like just like looks great, navigates great, says a lot about them, etc. They're gonna get a leg up on you, right? Even though you're both the same skill level. So it's the kind of thing where it's not like hurting you to have a very basic site. It's just not helping you. So it becomes kind of your choice how important that is to you. And if you compare it to pages like one of my favorites is like ashtonmorris.com. I love this page. I always will. This page is so sick, right? Like you have Ashton doing the field recording with the bird and like the implementation and the rooftop DJ party and stuff. Like it's super cool. Scrolls down for no reason because it's a building. This is a great page. This is like the first few months of Real Talk back in 2016, and I will never forget this page, you know? Whereas compared to yours, and like, of course, it's extremely basic, right? Like I'm not being mean by saying that. It's no secret. It's just like it's very flat, just basic everything. So while Ashton stands out, the whole distinction thing, right? Ashton stands out like crazy, and yours, you just risk it kind of blending in with everyone else who's looking for the same jobs you're looking for. And yeah, it's definitely a bit of an investment to, you know, put time or money into making a site look better like Ashton's does. But I think it goes a long way. Like if you're serious about a career in game sound, I think it's a good investment. Absolutely. Let's get back to the reel again. Let's go. 3, 2. Wait. Am I turned up? I closed my volume mixer like an idiot. Please. We're turned up. It's fine. But now we're on isotope. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and go. No, why? Spacebar minimizes it? What the heck? Go. Okay, so around now, I would be maybe looking to skip ahead a little bit, or yeah, I'm like right on the cusp of being like, we'll see kind of thing. So we'll watch the whole thing, but we'll come back and talk about that in a second. Whoa. Tic-tac-faux. What's up, pals? First off, good luck, have fun. Yes, with the runs, eh? With the Real Talk runs. Claps, please. Tic-tac-faux raids with 38 people. Holy. Welcome, everyone, rolling in. This is Real Talk. If you're just joining us, we're looking at some game audio demo reel content, specifically Luigi Platania's content from Sicily, and trying to give Luigi some constructive feedback to help him land the gigs in game sound he's looking for. So we're doing that now for the next 20 minutes or so feel free to hang out. This may or may not be in your area of interest. That's totally fine. Whatever you want to do. Good to have you regardless. Thanks, Tic-tac-faux. So let's take a look again here. I was mentioning how in the first 20 seconds or so, I was like, okay, we'll see how we do for the rest of the reel. And a bit of the reason for that is it felt like pretty flat, like kind of similar to what we were talking about with like the gun, the spaceship sounds in the previous one. Just feeling a little bit kind of samey, like this combat here. Like this is pretty egregious here, actually, like from like 9 seconds to 13 seconds ish. Like it's pretty samey. Like all the impacts and grabs and stuff, not only in terms of color, like by color I mean frequency content, but in terms of like intensity, it's pretty similar. Also, I love the wise warnings and errors thing in the console. Yeah, there's that. I'm getting ahead of myself. So I mentioned like why I felt like skipping ahead. That's why, but now we'll dial back to presentation. So first off, it's 1:15. I actually can't, I was trying to recall, so I was right here. I was trying to recall what happened in the last 15 seconds and I couldn't recall what it was. So that's not a good sign. But yeah, there's probably room to pull this in a little bit in terms of length. Eric Moyen, how long do you suggest a clip in a reel should be around before it gets too long? Well, it really depends on the content of the clip. I mean, if it's moving along and keeping you interested, that's the biggest thing. Because it's not really an easy question to answer, because the goal of your reel on the whole is to inform the viewer about you as much as possible. It's like a trailer for you, right? Like 1 minute. And the goal of that trailer should be to make you want to learn more about the person. It's like saying a trailer for a film or a game. You're like, oh, I want to see that movie now. I want to play that game. Like I want to hire this person or like to learn more about this person, right? So if your pieces are informing them that you have skills that are at a certain level of quality, that it's good, and a certain like type of skills in terms of like implementation or in terms of linear design or certain kinds of games, that's good too. So it's less about like how long the clip should be and what that clip is accomplishing in your reel. If it's very short, if it's too short, then yes, you run into like presentation issues where you feel like the viewer feels like they're being kind of like pulled around a lot and they can't really settle in to really understand what's happening in the scene. So yeah, some attention to flow in that respect is totally important. And then of course, when you get too long, it gets to a point where like, let's say, well, in the previous shot, we had Nikita, who was here. There we go. We said like the first 10 seconds were, there's my side chain, were like all gunfire and stuff, right? In this first 10 seconds, it's kind of all the same thing happening, we mentioned. So until like now, things start happening. So in the first 10 seconds, we said like you can probably afford to kill off that 10 seconds because we're not learning anything new, you know? So yeah, it's pretty important to think of it from that angle more than like never have a clip longer than 15 seconds or something. It's not really a rule. It's more like what is your clip accomplishing for you if it's longer. Okay. Yeah, Matt mentioned this, that the target market for this reel will absolutely jump on errors and be like, okay. Yeah, lighting needs to be rebuilt. That's a fun one. Okay, so let's watch it again here. 1:15. We probably have room to pull it down a bit in length. This opening clip, there is no. Sorry, there was one. Wow. So there was an opening bookend, but I mean, it's like the most basic as they come. It's not going to hurt you, Luigi, but it is absolutely not going to help you. This borders on like forgettable, right? Like being just extremely like white text on a black screen with no sound, I think also. Yeah, with no sound. So like this is definitely like at the least interesting of bookends we can see. And when you have examples like I'm thinking of like, what is it, Lamp 8 Audio, I think? Lamp 8 Audio. Will Tana? I think this is his. Let me just see if this is right. Game Interactive. Yeah, so here's like Will Tana's reel as an example, right? Here's the opening seconds. right? Sick. And then you just compare to this one, and it's like, I'm not trying to be mean, but just that's the kind of person you're competing against. So when you compare that one, which will absolutely give him a boost. Like I remembered it right now. I mean, we did Will Tunnel like 2 years ago. So you compare to this one, and I will absolutely not recall this one in like a few months' time, right? Because it's just, there's nothing to hold on to. It's not that you are a bad sound designer. It's that there's nothing to hold on to here. So yeah, it doesn't border on. It is firmly unforgettable. Yes, fully. So moving on, this title here is the whole thing with it being in the bottom left and like not like at a third up. It can really help to listening to people's seizures. That's a consideration, I suppose. This should be a little higher up so it doesn't end up competing with you know, the UI and stuff in the video players. Further, this is a bit unconventional as far as how to present what you worked on. It's nice to give the developers, like Naughty Dog being in there somewhere, like Uncharted 4, Naughty Dog, and then beneath that, sound redesign, and with some, you know, a little more attention to like the design of the thing. Like, well, Josh is here. We got to do it, right? He's like the gold standard in my opinion as far as titles go. We're just gonna go to anywhere in the reel. There's oh no, spacebar, please. There's one. This is like excellent, right? So again, just comparing against something like quite basic looking. Josh just, you know, is a little more, oh, it's working out. My free space. Hey, Mason, good to see you, pal. Okay. Moving on. So we got the next clip. How's this for transition stuff? It's a bit palate cleansy. Also nitpicking this, the title is actually different. Like this kind of opacity thing happening here. The transparency, I guess. It moves from shot to shot. See that? And I think it's the width, but like this side, for example, is not locked to the same position. And sound moves too. So it's like a very small detail thing, but like details like that can be what set you apart from somebody else who's at a very similar skill level to you. So consider that moving forwards. Okay, so I mentioned it being kind of palate cleansy. So we fade out and we're back in. I mean, okay, this is a very subjective thing probably. I'm curious in the chat, like, do people prefer to move from one clip to the next in like a well-orchestrated and like mindful way? Or do you prefer to have like a full fade to black and fade back in again? For myself, I love seeing when someone has like really put some thought into the flow of things. And one I love that I always bring up, this may be on your bingo card also, it's very possible. Aaron Bauer's audio.com. If he still has the same reel up, I think he does. I love this intro. Check this out. This transition's so cool. So this is from Subnautica. It's a redesign. We go up the ladder, and then we're up the top of a ladder in Soma to keep doing a redesign. That's so damn cool. And again, this stands out in memory immediately. So it's not that a palette cleanser transition is like ruining it for you or making you to be a worse designer. It's just that, again, to stand out in a crowd, having a little more of a mindful approach to your transitions can go a long way. Okay, we got end of this one. We got same kind of thing, right? Fade to black and then back in. Call of Duty, yes, great. And then end of this one, we got shooter demo. So we're at 35 seconds right now. I definitely phased out at the end of this clip. That's why. So 35 seconds to the end. We got a lot of time here left, and that's like 40 seconds on a single clip. So 40 seconds of 1 minute and 15 is a single clip. And I guess your goal here was to kind of say, hey, I did these cool things, and there is value to that. But I will be honest, I was watching up here, and I totally missed these things changing over time. I just didn't see them. Yeah, and the errors. I did get distracted by the errors too. I definitely read these errors rather than the things down below. So I definitely just didn't see this text, if I'm being honest. if you say, hey, I did this shooter demo, Unreal and Wise, and you show some stuff that sounds cool, just show it, and it does sound genuinely cool, I will want to learn more. And then that's a great chance to redirect to these things you did over here, right? Although we can probably talk about that a little briefly too. So we have like the procedural impact sounds that Alex just demands to see. I'm going to guess you probably don't speak in this, but we'll see. Yeah, so it's classic like textual kind of indication of what's happening. Again, this looks super cool, and I would love to know more. But in general, your voice describing to us what is happening is going to be way more effective than having text on the screen. I'm just going to let it keep playing. Synthesized. Like, explain to us what you did and why it's so cool. Why you're proud of it. Why it's showing up on your portfolio, you know? Like, assume somebody's coming into this and has no idea what they're looking at, and tell them how cool it is and why they should care. You know, it goes a long way. Because you have this whole thing here. You have, I guess this one's much shorter, but the previous ones, like the UB4 demo, we have all this stuff here. You have so much room to talk about these cool things you did, but it's asking a lot to get people to read all that because they have many applications to go through. And it's not that what you've done is not worth looking at. It's that the manner of the presentation is not, it's not the most effective way to do it, because having your voice lets people learn about you a little more. They hear your voice, they hear you speaking about something you are passionate about, and that passion comes through. But it's also this is less time effective. And when people have like 100 demo reels to look at, or 100 candidates, or 200 or 500 candidates to look at, this becomes kind of like this is pretty cool, but like I don't have time to read this. I'll have to just move on, basically. But if I press play and you're like, hey, I'm Luigi, check out this awesome thing I did, I will totally listen to you if you sound like you know what you're talking about and you're excited to tell me. Absolutely. So let's go back to the front again here. We can talk a little bit about content stuff. I guess we're kind of skipping over the criteria a little bit. We're kind of jumping all around this one. But presentation-wise, we've talked plenty about that. This is again procedural impact sounds. Come on. We've talked plenty about that. Material selection. Okay, so we have Uncharted 4, we have Monster Hunter, we have COD, we have Unreal and Wise. This seems like you're aiming for a job at a AAA studio. That seems the idea. These two being kind of third-person things, this one being first-person, and that one too. So, yeah, similar at least. Hopefully that's the case. I assume it is the case. For content quality, okay, I started talking about this a little bit and being kind of samey. If you watched Nikita's breakdown and review, it's a lot of the same stuff here. Like these punches and stuff, I would encourage you to close your eyes and see if you can tell what's happening from moment to moment. Like, do kicks sound different than punches? Do like body slams sound different? Do we hear something different like on the wall here when I slam his back into it versus like when I punch him in the chest? I mentioned how like 9 to 13 seconds sounds pretty samey. If you listen to that right now, like just close your eyes. Let's go for it. 3, 2, 1. Like the cloth and stuff sounds kind of generalized and could get a lot more nuance, a lot more contour, and a lot more like specificity when it comes to like whose clothes it is and like how intense the movement is, and is it an impact? Is it a movement? Is it a whoosh? Is like, you know, there's a lot of room to like better tell the story, because you're kind of telling the story right now of like the action is taking place, sure, but it's just kind of generalized. And for a studio like Naughty Dog, I mean, they're way up there. They're way up there in the industry. So that kind of generalization is just not going to hold up against the original. And when you're doing redesigns, you're being compared to the original, and hopefully you're as good or getting there, or you're just incomparable because you've taken a totally different method, like you made it all 8-bit or something. But yeah, right now that's a pretty it's a big problem for sure. Matt says he heard a lot of flags flapping and slaps. So I mean, flags flapping. There you go. Just being generalized clothy whooshes, right? Not really digging into like the specific like start end and like what the thing whooshing is made of and like how long it took and all these things. The intensity, the speed, the size, all that's very important. So yeah, I would encourage you to put a little more time and thought into that kind of thing. Moving on. I'm so bad at creature sounds. Like I'd be the worst person for this job. So it's hard for me to critique it because I just feel bad. I'm like, yeah, well, Kevin, you do it. Because I can't. I'm terrible. Although I know Matt has a lot of monster opinions when it comes to things like this. I think that this monster roar was kind of, it's kind of a parallel to like the combat being kind of flat and samey. Like the roar starts and it's like, and it stops at the end. Like, you know, like there isn't really contour to it. You have a generalized like to it, but that doesn't really change over time. Like it's kind of this, it's like on and off, but there isn't like it doesn't change in the middle. There's no movement in the vocalization, and there also isn't. I think you probably have some more room for detail in the vocalization, like for the finish. Like the mouth closing, is the changing of the throat and mouth, like changing the sound coming out of the face, you know? There's it's a little more like, that's a great point, Alex. It's a very blast of air rather than, blood curdling scream, roar, etc. Matt says, feels half done. Like there were some layers that got muted by accident. Good start. More detail needed. Yes. Yeah, I think what you have there is cool, but there's just more room to put like explicitly vocal kind of sounds on top of that or in amongst that. And with a little more like, again, movement to, or more consideration for the movement of the character and like how the sound would change over time and that kind of thing. This gunshot hurt me. So this first blast, it's not really like the closeness of the next shot. Like this is a small room, definitely. It feels tight, but this blast does not feel tight to me. Like doesn't feel, we wouldn't hear it from coming all around you, for instance, right? But this grenade blast, again, close your eyes. Let's go. So where were we when that blast took place? That's the question. It seems we're kind of like in front of it or inside of it. Like it's kind of all around us, right? So a little more attention given to where this thing is and the space it resides within. It's like a tight room. We might hear like from that space, like from the doorway, but not all around us, right? And you do have the like kind of the build up. It's a cool cinematic addition, but it's only there, really? Is that true? Yeah, I guess there's this is a very short clip. There's not a whole lot we can pull from it. The gunshot is like, it's not the worst. It's a little bit singular though. Like that, it made me jump when I heard the first time. It's very like transient and that's it. But some more room for, I mean, Alex being the resident, well, certainly more than me, gun expert. More room for like the trigger and so forth. Just things like that. It's a very monosyllabic gunshot. Yeah, it's like singular, boom, and done. Nothing else. Absolutely. It definitely was like, oh my God. I think I said like, whoa, when I played the first time we were listening through. Again, Foley stuff. Listen to the characters falling to the ground. It's also kind of monosyllabic as a body fall. You hear like this, but that's kind of it. There's no like what is this guy made of? What is like a helmet? Is there like gear? Is there weapons? There's a lot more than like a pile of clothes, you know? Like that thing falling sounds like a rucksack or something, and that's it. And then same thing here, this impact. It like falls into the wall and stuff. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to hold on to there. Moving on. Right. So Unreal and Wise. This is a long clip. Cool point source ambience. Nice. Custom Blueprint 4. Yeah, I mean, I like seeing that at the end, but just it'd be so much more effective if you had just like a generalized, like, I did this, just accept that I did this. I'm using Unreal and Wise, and then have that additional video like in your back pocket. If someone wants to learn more, they can learn more. They can come hear you talk about these cool things you did with it, right? That's going to be so much more effective than the approach you've taken here as far as changing the text on screen. Because like changing text on screen makes me look away from the video, right? Because I'm watching your video. This is what happened the first time I watched your video. I pressed play and it's playing through the whole thing. I'm like watching this. I thought, oh, all the ricochets like sound kind of the same pitch. We're watching some more. I was like thinking, oh, the gunfire is like kind of irregular, but sure. Moving on. I can like live with that. Cool. The reload. Like I literally did not even see this text change because I had read this and was like, okay, got it, and moving on, and never looked back. I was watching up here the entire time. So A, you risk someone not seeing the text change because they're focused on your cool sounds, or B, you distract them from your cool sounds by changing the text. You know, I think having people focused in on your content is the most important thing to make sure they don't miss anything awesome that you've done. Okay, so Alex says, my general philosophy with guns is basically I want to hear as much of the tales as possible without getting in the way of more important information. Sure. Josh agrees. The rest of it plays a very important role, but without the tale, it isn't really anything interesting. Obviously, you can pick that apart, but the tales sell the power of the gun more than the shot itself. Nice, like that. It's how much the thing affects the environment around it that sells the power. There you go. Yeah, I'm totally not a big like shooty guy, so thank you for the shooty fellows in the chat helping me out. Okay, so we can probably wrap this up pretty soon here. Yeah, like ambient stuff too, it'd be nice to hear. We do have like some kind of whooshy stuff in the background, but a little more of the city. It's a common thing with this scene. We've seen this scene a lot of times on Real Talk. And yeah, I don't really feel like I'm in the city. It's pretty quiet and like dulled. Okay, so last bit, distinction-wise, I think we talked about this a lot of times already. Distinction-wise, I would say you are absolutely not standing out. As Matt said in the chat, this one it's not just bordering on forgettable. Like you're really in deep, man. And I would really encourage you to consider things like your site's design and like your intro and your titling and transitions, like the flow of the reel and putting your voice into these things. Like anything to help people get a little more of a first impression from you would be a good thing. The danger is you put in all this hard work, and of course you put in a lot of hard work to make this, and it shows. And you should be proud to show it off, absolutely. But the danger is that you do all this hard work, and then someone's like, "Oh, I can't read this. That's too much," or like, "Oh, I can't like watch this long video if it's like all kind of samey or there's no speaking or like whatever." Right? There's a lot of things you can do to like help people along, like help them want to listen through your stuff or just want to see more. And showing you're serious is a great way of doing that. And you can show you're serious by doing cool things like a sweet, mindfully edited video or a cool like designed rooftop DJ party pixel art background on your webpage. Like there's a lot of things you can do beyond just the audio to help you stand out and make it very clear that you are serious about this role, because being serious means that you're a less risky hire than someone else who might not be seemingly as interested in the work, Okay, so I'm just going to finish up this chat stuff. Yes, some gold from the shooty people. Thank you, Matt. Absolutely. And I'm going to let Alex finish out talking about guns in the chat as I do one of these. Thanks, Luigi. Absolutely, thank you. If you put some more work into this thing and come back and want to go again, I would love to take a second look at this once you've put a little more work into it. Absolutely, just keep cranking away. It's really important to realize like everyone starts somewhere. So I hope this may have been some like very honest feedback, but I think you definitely have like some really solid stuff in here, and you're certainly not starting from like ground zero. You can grow from here, absolutely. So thanks everyone for hanging out in the chat. As I mentioned, we have the audio coordinator from Riot Games coming not next week, but in 2 weeks. A reminder that Real Talk is now doing an every 2 weeks show instead, because I'm busy and it's tough to devote the mental space and time on my schedule to this show every single week. So yes, we have Emmanuel coming in 2 weeks on the 17th, is that right? 17th. And then again, October 1st, I mentioned before, we have Jeff Seamster, we have Marco and Curtis, I believe his name is, right? Yes, I'm correct. I'm correct. Here we go. Yes, you can follow Power Up Audio down below. You'll see this there. But we're doing this Riot and Power Up team up to do a little panel on October 1st. So if you feel like throwing your hat in the ring and getting a quick bit of feedback, then let's do it. Absolutely. It's going to be very rapid fire, I think, compared to today's stream, for instance, doing like 50 minutes on each person, right? It's going to be very fast by comparison. So thanks so much. And I'm going to put on the Solstice soundtrack again, because how could we not do that, right? Back to the beginning. Let's go. It's too good. Okay, thanks everyone. I will see you in 2 weeks. Cheers.